Hello, amazing souls. Welcome back to another episode with me on my channel Cosmic Contracts with Princess Starlight. Today's topic is Wild Mother Earth. Now, when we talk about light and dark, right, like remember, light and dark is the term that we try to differentiate, the human mind wants to differentiate. But if you look into the light and dark aspect, right, we'll be like, oh, light is all love and all happiness and all being kind and beautiful and respectful, all these things. But when immediately the human mind wants to think about the dark, it's always termed as evil. Dark is always evil. It's not good. It's the woo woo. You need to stay away from it. It's not good. And if you're somebody who keeps seeing number 666 or 4 times 6, if you keep seeing that, I remember getting a pay slip and the salary that came to me like monthly, we decided on an annual salary, right? But once the first salary came, my salary was 6 times 6. So you can imagine seeing 6666666, and you can imagine the terror I went through. But now with the awakening and everything, and change of perspective, change of ideologies, breaking the old patterns, belief systems, and finding the way on this path has brought so much of information, knowledge, wisdom that I always want to share. So that if you are also on this path and you're trying to, go beyond your belief system, try to see the different side, the different perspective, then I think, maybe my research helps you. So today, that's why I want to talk about wild Mother Nature, because still now you will see that, oh, if I'm talking about Mother Nature, that, oh, then look how she is nurturing, how she takes care of us, how she is good to us and loving, and this unconditional love that we keep talking about, and that she's a provider, she's a caretaker, and we hear all these wild, these nice things. But what on the dark side? What on the light side you have, right? On the dark side. Now, for a moment, just for a moment, imagine, Mother Earth, Planet Earth, Poncho Mama, Gaia. Imagine the places. They are such beautiful places on Mother Gaia. Those perfect rising suns, beautiful mountains, trees, beautiful colored flowers, the humming bees, the birds, and such beautiful flowing river, then stones. And that's one picture of how beautiful nature is. No matter how beautiful buildings we create, how much money we use to bring the best piece and create a beautiful home for ourselves, Mother Nature, she always blows everybody's mind. Once you're out in nature, you feel that calmness, that peace. And now imagine, same on this Mother Earth. We have deep jungles, deep taverns, deep inside the mountain caves, we have underground tunnels. There's so much of depth, there's so much of darkness, and we don't know what's there. Isn't that scary? It's like, even imagining it brings shivers in our body, fear, terror, and all these rise up. All right. So now there are archetypes of goddesses when we are looking into divine feminine. So we talked about the mother, wild Mother Nature. All right. So she can be, depths. There is suspense. There is darkness for sure. There is uncertainty, but there is also in this darkness curiosity. There is something still undiscovered. There is still something that keeps, calling out to your psyche, keeps telling you that, in that dark space, deep, deep, deep in the dark spaces, if you hear all these mythical stories, they always start that where are you looking for these magical people, mythical creatures? Deep in the jungles, deep in those forest trees, deep buried below the mountains. It's always the deep inside those dark spaces where you find magic. Magic. And that is the topic from where I would like to today connect with because I talk about divine feminine increase and how you work with your rising of the divine feminine, creating your grounding yourself of who you truly are, and creating a space, a sacred safe space in your womb for creativity to come in, and for you to bring those ideas, that creativity into the physical world. Like man, all right, we can also, like, man is only emotionally, mentally producing ideas creativity wise, right? But women, the female body, the female vessel is the only vessel that can give birth to a soul physically. So we can also do the mental creativity, the emotional creativity, but the physical creativity of bringing a life into this physical world is bestowed upon female bodies. So it's not like, we are some special being. It's just that we have that edge to be so creative in our emotions, in our mental state, that this energy that we bring down in the vessel, through that energy we bring a more higher being, a higher soul through our womb space. Like Mother Gaia, through her womb space we see so many things. So many things are still hidden, we don't know about them. In the same way, womb of the divine feminine, where the divine feminine power lies. So we talked about the light one as usual, that it's nurturing, caring, and it's always, the surrendering energy, the carer, the provider, and all these things, right? But when we come to the wild side or the dark side, as we say that, the human psyche will say, oh, it's evil, it's woo woo. But what's the dark side of divine feminine? The dark side of divine feminine is that she is wild, she is expressive, she is assertive of what she wants. Therefore, she becomes the decision maker. She does not want to submit to things that are not right, or they are, suppressing. So, submitting to what's not right in terms of either it's suppressing you or, oppressing you. So the right of being freedom, of being liberal, of being, doer of your choice. So you're taking choice, your will, free will, right? So if you find systems, or you find people, systems, nations, you have this capacity depending on soul, definitely, but you are not going to submit. You feel the strong, deep, the sense of submitting to the will that seems to you kind of oppressive, suppressive, that kind of does not let you express yourself. And obviously your sexuality is always going to be there. There is one kind one, then there are various versions, right? The kind one, the hot one, the wild one, the, oh my god, there are so many if you get into these things, right? But today what we are shown is that what we see in those movies, the dirty ones, that is right. No, that's something really disgusting, and that's not natural at all. It's extremely putting people in a very vulnerable position, and you don't know how to get out because nobody wants to talk or share about these things. This side of divine feminine, nobody wants to talk about, because that is again evil, that's woo woo, that's dark, and it's kind of witchy, and you don't want to get into that, right? And that is exactly, when In the past, if you pick up your history books, right, and we see the witch trial where we were burned, where we were drowned, so many things happened, raped, tortured, or the kids were, taken away from us, your belly was cut down. There were so many things that were done, it was like a mass genocide. But today, once you look back now, because we have internet and now so many are rising and awakening, what we see is again and again is that, whether you connect to the term witch, connect to the term, sex practitioner or healer or energy worker, shaman, medicine woman, man, whoever you are, the truth is you were somewhere working with this two aspects of divine feminine. Remember, divine feminine has been wounded for almost 2500 years or maybe more, but let's just keep that in the bracket for now. And what happens is, if the divine feminine is wounded, it automatically affects the divine masculine, because you have to remember that when the divine masculine, that action taking energy, is taking action in the outer world, the energy that drives this divine masculine to take action in the outer world is divine feminine. And if the divine feminine energy is wounded, if it's scarred, it's filled with shame, guilt, regret, oppress, suppress, judgment. There's so much of judgment today. Look at the society, no matter where you live across the globe, right? You will see that today people are raising this issue again and again, that society has become kind of really judgmental, always judging, always gossiping. Very quickly they want to just term you anything left and right. And then, because this is wounded, divine masculine is getting affected, and because divine masculine is getting affected, we hear this word called toxic masculinity, this toxic manly nature that is coming up again and again in many cultures. It's nothing like, it's restricted to one city or one country or one continent. It's spread like, like it's everywhere. Like today people are talking about this culture again and again. The reason is this is wounded, and the more it's wounded, it's going to show up here. And then people think though, oh, so it's only the work of, when you're talking about divine feminine or womb healing, it's only the women that they're supposed to do. No, the womb, like women have physical womb, but the males have the energetic womb, and they also have the divine feminine. They also have all these kindness, nurturing, surrendering, providing, and all these feelings of a motherly nature. The divine feminine heart, the light aspect, the other side of the aspect, is also in men, and it's kind of wounded in them as well. So obviously toxic side of masculine nature we see, which is more assertive, logical, wants to see things, wants to see the fact, the evidence, put logic. And that's why we see so much that money is more powerful. You having a powerful position, having money, that is more important in today's world than all these things. Emotional intelligence is not the topic that we want to discuss on this planet. Your mental IQ is more important, but very few realize that emotional intelligence is more important than the mental intelligence. Now, this is all a little bit about this divine feminine. Now the dark side, all right. Now remember, anything of extreme is always not good. So if you're too on the, like I did a video where I said that when you're on too on the light side, you're too loving, caring, nurturing, what happens is you start obeying people. You kind of always want to please people because you are this good and kind person, right? I was one of them all my life. Oh, you're such a nice girl, you're such a kind girl. And like people would always like me for my kindness, my shyness of not being able to speak up for myself, and always obeying the elders. And this is one side from my personal experience, that you kind of become a people's pleaser because you want to please people so that they could appreciate you. You want to obey them. You kind of are seeking for validation from them that, oh yes, you're a nice girl, you're a good girl, and you're a good person, in short. And the other side is when you are expressing yourself, when you are not, you're not listening, you're not bowing down yourself to the rules of this patriarchal society that is ruled by men. That it's kind of, if you see in the man's world, right, if you see in the man's world, we are women are automatically, it's kind of a program that women are second class citizens. It's not a law, but you can see that in their minds, right? It's like a picture that we are the first class citizens, and you are always going to be the second class. Even if you're educated, you're working, you're the modern day woman, right? Still, that thing will be, you would be able to sense these things. Women are good at intuition, they always know, they can sense, right? So you will always sense this, that they treat you like you're always going to be less. With so much of empowerment, me too, women trying to prove themselves, breaking the glass ceiling, all these things, with all these things, even still at the back of their head, this thought is continuously getting into their head, right? That something, it's about dominance, that we are always going to be the controller of your life, you're always going to be the decision makers of your life, you're always going to be the ones who will tell you what to do, and you need permission, right? Even in nice ways, they'll be like, oh, you should have asked us, we would have done these things for you. They don't want, some really care for you, that you genuinely love you and want to do things, but they're not letting you take decisions for yourself. So what happens is that if you are on the dark side, so that's like a dark side, that if you are somebody who's making your own decisions, if you want to do things your way, if you do not want to submit to the will of this patriarchal society, then obviously you know the term that's always going to be used for such women is whore, is going to be prostitute. Because if you see this distinction, like, it's very, very clear. Like, there are two categories of women. One is the obedient one, who's supposed to be the in the house, and if you're in a house, if you have a family life, then you are always the obedient one, always the one that is going to adjust, is going to compromise, who's always going to be kind, nice. And the day you just, if you have an anger outburst, you'll be like, oh my god, you are becoming like the street woman or something. You will quickly, people automatically, it's like fit in their head that quickly they want to bring you back to who you were, this obedient version. Because only the obedient and only the nice ones get a house, get a family, get a respect in the society. But the other version, those who do not listen, who want to do their things, they want to express their emotions, their feelings, their words, their sexuality, they are the ones who will be termed this. They never get a home, they never get family, they will never get respect, they will always be looked by that other eye, the so-called, other eye. I really wanted to do this other eye, because this is how they see you. Because if you just even dress up the way you want to, a little different from what your society, from the society you are in, it's like, you raise an eyebrow, and people are kind of, in their minds, maybe on face, they're never going to say, behind their backs they're going to say, or maybe they do not say at all, but in their mind, in their psyche, it kind of starts running into your head. And what immediately happens is, if you are in these categories, they want to make a move against you, they want to suppress you, oppress you, or they think that, oh, you're a kind, you are the kind of girl who's loose, and you're the easy target. And you will clearly see that this is, I'm not sure about other continents, but in Asian continent especially, because I come from the Asian continent, right? I'm from India. So what happens is, in our societies, it's very prevalent that, Like from the childhood, what I have seen is that, in our societies, we were groomed up like this, that if we are getting education, if we are able to, choose the clothes we want to wear, or where we want to work, or where we want to move, if even if you are from that category, somewhere you have seen that, the family would be like, okay, we have given you enough freedom. But apart from that, if you want to move beyond and want to explore, then it's a big no-no. And even to get that much of freedom, where you can decide for your career, where you can decide where you want to stay, what you want to do, that's a blessing. Coming from a household where, it was the only male was my father, and only women, he was kind of always relying on us to take the decisions. He was final decision making for sure, but for there were many things in which he wanted us to take the decision. He wanted his girls to make the decision. So what happened was, even when I was growing up with all these insecurities, low self-esteem, always relying on them for them to make the decision for me, I subconsciously started, it kind of started getting into me that I, at some point of my life, have to make my own decisions. I have to stand up for myself. I have to decide where I want to take my life. Because he kept saying that if you are not the driver of your life, and if it's always going to be somebody else, you're not the driver, you're not deciding which road to take, where to make the stop, how much speed you want to take, how much do you want to slow, and if it's always the other person deciding, then sooner or later you are never going to be happy with the decision, because maybe you wanted to stop there and wait for some time, but what happens is that you did not. And that is kind of you start suppressing these feelings, these emotions, and it kind of becomes like a burden that you're carrying in your energetic body. So now put this picture that I gave you of the driving seat into your life, because everyone's life is different, life challenges are different. For some, it's there are too many lessons that are dark, and they really bring out the worst. But if you are in a phase where you have experienced a lot of darkness, then remember the story I told you, that in the depths of the darkness you find your magic. And it's the same, that when you get into your dark side, the suppressed, the hidden one that you have always suppressed, because you will be judged, people will it will raise an eyebrow, and it will create these fears of being judged, of being um, getting raped, or of getting killed, or of being persecuted. All these fears kind of get in, they are stopping you from exploring your dark side. But remember, darkness is where your shadows hide. When you talk about shadow work, clearing of the shadows from your psyche, your witch wound is also here, right? Those fears that you feel, that you will be persecuted, judged by society, or being made fun of, or maybe physically getting attacked or something, then these are the shadows in the psyche that are blocking you, because you hold some gifts. And in order to go find your gifts, you need to dive deep, deep into the darkness of your pit, of your womb, and find that information. And it's not an easy journey at all. Definitely, it's not an easy journey. So, for this dark side, like I keep telling you, why you have to embrace both the sides. Because if you go to the extreme side, definitely you will be like this, obedient, seeking validation. But if you get on the dark side, what happens is actually is when you get on more on the darker side and start playing a lot with more dark energies, that's when you can get on this side. But I actually don't like this term, because it's human made. It's just that you have to remember, again, when you're working with both the sides, when you're working with any kind of energy, like in tantra it said that, what is tantra? It's a web of energy. Whatever we are doing here in this human form, we are creating energy cords with each other. And whatever we do, like we're creating this web, like just web of internet web, right? Websites. So you're creating a web of energy, and whatever you are creating as energy is obviously going to create your karma. And if it's going to create your karma, you need to come back into the 3D world again and again to pay it off. So if you do more good also, you have a golden cage, but if you do the dark thing also, again it's a heavy burden and you'll be stuck in the lower densities. So only you get to decide what you want to do when you're working with either sides, or kind of mixing both the energies, because in tantra, energy per se is not negative or positive. Please remember that. It's neutral. It's how we use the energy and for what. Like when we talk about tantra, all right, so people are usually, the pictures or the movies that we see is, or these people in black dress and black thing on their forehead, on the third eye, it's called the tilak or something, and they are doing some mantras, and there is a skull kept, and they're doing all these evil things to create a black magic or something, right? That is the only part of tantra that is shown. Or the other hot topic is tantric sex. That's the only two things that people want to talk about in mainstream media. But there is more to this term. It is the creation of web, like a spider, that we create the web. The spider creates a beautiful web of creation. You can create a beautiful web, right? And have a happy space, a peaceful space, a loving space, whatever your definition of a web, of this energy is. Or you can do the wrong things, and it's like you get entangled in that web yourself. So energy work is there. And now if you start exploring more, then India is a very beautiful place in those terms, because yeah, it's used for bad things, but at the same time, if you see many tantrics, they are using these powers that are derived from the dark side to help humanity, to get them to remove the evil eye spirit. So there's so many things. Obviously there is a big web of people who are not actually doing that, and they're just looting you up. So you have to be very, very careful when you get into that industry. But the truth is that these things in the spiritual world do exist, the good and bad. And if you want to, it's just like, you are dealing with the goons. So you kind of gotta be a goon to deal with the goons, right? You cannot be the nice one, the sweet and kind one, and be like, "Oh, I'm gonna beat you up." You can't do that, right? To fight the dark, you kind of need a little darkness in you, and that's what exactly darkness is. If you are somebody that if you are somebody who's gone through injustice, or you really don't agree with some kind of system that is here, and you feel that there is something in you that keeps telling you that you have to pull, then you can't be all nice and good. You have to get into the pit, you have to get into the darkness, you have to roll your sleeves up, right? And you have to get there and just bring out the darkness in you. Like, look at Kali Ma. She is an avatar of Parvati Ma. Parvati Ma is this of Durga Ma, and look at the two sides Durga Ma gives you. So Parvati Ma, the nurturer, the mother, Durga Ma, the protector, the strength, and Kali Ma, the destruction of darkness, evil, demons, right? So what? These are three different shades of the divine feminine. And sometimes, if you are a warrior, if you are somebody that's fighting the injustice, it's fighting these oppressed systems, or you really want to bring in some change, then I'm sorry, this love and light concept is limited in its sense, right? You need to become a little goon type energy to fight with the goons. All right, so when you, let's do this light and dark here. If you are somebody who has seen a lot of dark cycles in your life, you will always know. If you just reflect back, you'll know why certain things, like in a cycle, keep looping back to you again and again. Because that darkness, whatever that is in your life, okay, put yourself, no matter what the intensity is, what you've experienced, definitely it is bringing out a lot of pain, suffering, mental torture. Sometimes it leads you to insanity and a lot of trauma, suffocation. Like, you might even lose your voice in that part, right? So if you are somebody who is experiencing these things because of a karmic cycle, it's like a loop, and you'll keep finding yourself in the same situation. People will change, situations will change, but this loop is like, you will start identifying it will sooner or later, kind of become more evident in your life. So I know it's going to be really painful, it's going to cause a lot of suffering, but the only reason you are experiencing all this thing is because your soul is a warrior. And once this thing that is causing you so much will put you in another loop of being a victim, being bearing the pain, trauma, and all these things. But once you start to question yourself, like, what is after this? Because this is a dark phase, right? This is a dark phase in your life. If you start questioning this, then you will start to see that maybe to be a warrior, you sometimes have to go through this cycle of pain, suffering, darkness, in order to find the beautiful gifts that can actually not just help you, but people at large. So maybe you are here on a mission, especially the light workers. You were definitely put into these cycles, and for some it was really intense, painful, like child sexual abuse, rape, loss of child, or toxic parents, toxic relationships, or being abandoned, or being, there are so many things, right? And even war trauma, because if you have witnessed something terrible like shooting, bombing, or you were in the midst of war zone, it's going to be really scary. We cannot even imagine the pain, the suffering, the trauma one goes through. It's like beyond imagination. And imagine the strength if you have gone through something like that and you're still there, if you're still breathing, if you're still going through this cycle. That means you hold a very special gift in your dark space. And that is why maybe you are somebody who needs to work on the both sides of light and dark. It's definitely not an easy journey, not everybody takes it, but mostly the warriors will have to get into the dark side, experience the pain, suffering, and then get out of the cycle to discover their gifts. Because remember, your 90% soul stays up here. It has already the contract signed before you came here. So your contract is going to tell your mission, what you came here to do, and who you are actually supposed to be, and all those things. Then you come here, right? Then you come here, you drop here on planet Earth. It's a Earth school, right? And then you go through your lessons and everything. So once you're here and your body is here, connect to the womb of Mother Earth. And then your womb holds your creativity, your life expression, your sacred sexuality, your purpose, uniqueness, all these things. And once you come here, your belief systems, your pain, your suffering, your trauma, whatever you have collected all your life gets into the womb and blocks your gifts of your uniqueness, of your creativity that you came to share here. So you kind of get to clean that. You need to clean your channel. And once you start clearing your channel, you connect with the divine feminine archetypes. And today people are connecting more with especially Mary Magdalene, Mother Mary, Isis, Star Mothers. These are all any divine feminine across any culture that you connect with. Sita, Radha, Krishna Radha, right? Or Durga. These are all from the love, light energy to the strength and power energy. And then you move a little here, then you have Kali, then you have even Isis is also kind of badass if you put her in this side, but let's keep her here for some time. And then you have Lilith. If you see Lilith, she is the demon goddess mother. But if you look at her story from the masculine point, you will see that she's portrayed as as the evil mother who killed her children. But if you look from the positive, from the feminine side, you will see she's the one who was expressing her freedom. She did not bow down to this man made world. She really wanted to, live her life on her own terms. And when she did not, then the God is coming and saying that, if you do not do this, your children will get killed. And obviously, she is still choosing her freedom because that's so sacred to her. Because if she loses her freedom and stops expressing who she is, she's going to lose her own self. So maybe a tough decision. You can look it from both sides. But again, Lilith. Then there are so many. I I'm forgetting her name. Persona. She's the wife of Hades and of the underworld, right? So what is underworld? Is it like some, maybe there is hell, heaven? I'm not sure. But for me, underworld represents the deeper layers of your divine feminine, of your psyche. Those deep layers where you don't know what's lurking inside of you, and it keeps again coming up again in your from your subconscious to your conscious mind, and in your physical world you keep acting from that part, from that view, right? And it kind of affects your daily life. It stops you from from expressing who you truly are, of expressing your creativity, of expressing your what you believe in, your free will, your liberty, your sexuality, so many things. And it kind of keeps oppressing you again and again, keeps suppressing you again and again, and keeps choking you. And sometimes you actually lose your voice in that process when you are actually really choked up till your throat. That's when you feel like you are not able to express yourself. All my life I had this problem that I really wanted to express, and I would just go numb in front of people, not knowing why I was not able to express. So maybe the more you suppress your feelings, these hidden deep dark desires, maybe of exploring world, of exploring those wild ideas that run in your head, that's the reason that it's going to kind of block your creativity, your gifts, your divine sacred gifts. And this is like a doorway. So I don't know what helped you, but this is the research that I'm going through currently. Like, not just exploring the light aspect, but also the dark side. Because I started, wherever I went, I just started getting connected to Lilith. And I was like, scared. I was like, why is she coming? And I read, and it was like, oh, the goddess of underworld and the baby killer. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm, attracting some really negative entities here. But then I started to work, then I started to find many people who are working with them. And the beautiful concept, like something that, the belief, we are so programmed into thinking, this limited thinking, this society, this structure, it's very limited. But once you move beyond and you can never get the grasp of what the knowledge and wisdom universe holds. But even if you can get a drop, you just get this idea that it's very vast, it's very infinite, and we are really living in a very limited scope of understanding who we truly are. It's nothing, again, all this divine feminine work is again nothing to do with your gender. Nothing to do with your gender. You can be anybody and you can still do this work. Clear your womb space, find your gifts, and unlock your God goddess potential. I hope this helped you. With lots of love and light, Princess Starlight.